Oh man, look at this, huh? Serpentine, 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 all the way down. This PEX tubing is a beast to work with. It's got a mind of its own. It doesn't want to do anything but stay in the loop that you bought it in. But we work together. Now we have a mutual understanding, me and the PEX tubing, and we respect one another. This is the tubing. This is the culprit. It's tough. This stuff is tough. It's got a mind of its own. Now, this is a 90-degree bender helper, okay? If you're going to bend this tubing, anything beyond a gentle bend, you need to have a bender helper. Some of my bends in there are gentle enough. There's no stress. But when I need to make a tighter bend, you fit this inside the tubing. Then what I did is I got some heater hose and I made some little protective spacers. Cut some sections, split them down the middle, and that goes on. Now that's where a piece of 80/20 is going to be passing alongside. No rubbing, okay? This is going to last a good long time. Then you put your other 90 on. And you complete your 180 degrees. See, it wants to kick out on you. This is tough, this stuff. Get out of there. Oh, it's unbelievable. Look, it won't let me do it. You would think I would have got the knack by now. See? And then that's what you get. But, look, ready? You see the force? This stuff is angry. This tubing is angry. So, here's what I got. Here's the premise of my system. I've got my 80/20 grids glued to the high points in the van floor with 3M 5200, which is flexible, yet considered permanent. So what that leaves me with is, if you think about those high spots in the van floor, all those low spots are now open. I am maintaining airflow underneath my foam. Between the van floor and the top of my foam, I've got airflow. Then I put my Reflectix on top of my pink foam board. I am working with the air gap between all my layers of flooring. I've got these aluminum heat dissipating plates. These are your heat dispersing plates. They're aluminum. I don't know what I pay for these, but if I had a break, I could have made them myself. But anyway, your tubing fits inside that channel wherever it's straight, and this will disperse the heat. The tubing heats the plate spreads the heat, heats the air. So I've got what looks like just about 3/4 of an inch of airspace between my Reflectix and my subfloor, which goes on top of my 80/20 grid. Now, my idea is I want to heat the air inside all of these channels under my subfloor. No substrate to retain it. But if this were set in concrete, the concrete warms up and it stays warm long after you've turned off your tubing. I'm not going with that premise. This is a van. I can't fill this floor with concrete. So we are going to look at this system very similarly to a hot air system. A hot air system in a house or in a van, once it shuts down, it gets cold pretty quickly. Radiators, on the other hand, will retain the heat and it stays warmer longer. But that's what this is. It's a supplement to my hot air system. The glycol mixture that runs through these tubes comes off the furnace at 180 degrees. By the time that glycol gets to this tubing, it's still going to be too hot. Believe it or not, this floor system only needs 60 or 70 degree glycol running through it in order to do its job, to warm the floor. Okay, we're not frying anything in here. You don't want to be walking around barefoot and all of a sudden you wonder, who's cooking steak? We go back and forth with these lines all the way down the floor area where you walk. There's none under the fridge. There's none under that cabinet. There is a line that goes underneath your armoire so your clothes stay warm. There is a main line of it that goes along that back wall. And the reason I did that is because a wise old man once told me that when he's sleeping along that wall, he feels the cold air coming through the wall. So I ran part of my glycol line right along that wall. So when you're sleeping, you're going to have a nice warm wall to snuggle up to. This area here, like in front of this battery and solar, this is where you're going to be doing your food prep. All along here, you're going to be standing here doing food prep in the galley. Warm feet. You see that last loop down by you that's out of focus down there? That's where you stand at the sink. You're standing at the sink, your feet are going to be toasty warm. You're going to notice it. You're going to be happy. Bonus footage. Way back in the beginning, the very first thing I did on this van was to put Neuco on these wheel wells, rattle trap on the wheel wells. First thing I did. A lot has happened since then. But I had to take this wheel well over here further, sooner, because I went to get my battery and do my bridge. So I knew I had to lock down on that for that project. So today I finally finished this side, and I just wanted to show you what is involved in covering these wheel wells. If you remember when I took the van to be weighed that very first day, my observations in an empty van were that the wheel wells are noisy. They are the big culprit when it comes to road noise. So I put on a nice blanket of Thinsulate. And then underneath the blanket of Thinsulate, I have a blanket of heavy mass vinyl. This is a beautiful heavy mass vinyl. It's heavy. See? Then the rattle trap. This does the job. But then we're going to deaden the sound further with handmade wheel well blankets. That's what these are. Wheel well blankets.